every Hindu undivided family will get an equal share of the property and they will have equal rights on it. Under the Daya Bhagya system, we say that only after the death of the father, the property shall be transferred to the son. 7 members of the society, minimum 7 members of the society have to join hands. They have to file a memorandum of association to the registrar of company. So the society is much more democratic, much more open, and it gives a chance for everybody to become a leader altogether. Good morning and welcome to the second session of business environment in the concept when we were talking about the forms of company. Now we are going to talk about something which is very, very interesting, but they are also the forms of company which exist in terms of the Indian society. So we are going to talk about the Hindu undivided family. We're going to talk about the trust and the societies. Now the names might look a little bit familiar to you, but yes, they are also forms of business which exist very much within our society, and they are said to be an innovative and also a traditional way of running the business. Now moving forward, let's try to understand what is the Hindu undivided family is all about. The Hindu undivided family business is a precise kind of business structure found only in India. So really you need to appreciate the fact that this is a very, very unique kind of business restricted only to the Indian geography. That is where it becomes a Hindu undivided family. And this is one of the classical methods of running the business in the nation. And it is administered by the Hindu law. The source of membership of this company is a birth in a family and 3 consecutive generations of these members in the company. They can become the members of the company. Now let me tell you, Hindu law itself has got several structures, several modes of telling how a family, society and business needs to be administered. So it is not going to be that easy, or it is not going to be that the open enough in terms of just going forward and running the business. But even they will have certain structure, they will have certain priorities, they will have certain methods in which the entire Hindu undivided family business runs all together. So that's why what we tend to do here is that we tend to understand the factor. We tend to understand how the Hindu undivided family comes, how people join hands together, what are the members, how are the family divided, and how do they run the business altogether. Now moving forward, the characteristics of a Hindu undivided family. Now the first thing is that the ancestral property should have been inherited by the members of the Hindu undivided family. Now what happens here? Now, for example, my great-grandfather started a company. Let's say that it's a textile manufacturing company. Now, after my great-grandfather, it gets inherited by my grandfather. Then it comes to my father. From there, it comes to me, which means to say that this business is inherited by nature by the 3 generations of the family. So the business is not going to go outside the family members. Rather, this is a kind of business which is going to be inherited by its own members itself. So that's why we call it as the undivided family structure altogether, followed by all the members enjoy this property and have an equal share in the property. Now, this is very, very important. Why? Because let us try to understand this factor. When a property is being inherited, it is being given by your ancestors to the next generation as far as possible. There needs to be no discrimination among the members. So as per our Hindu law and our Hindu society, we have always believed in the principle of equality. We believe that whether it is a property or whether it is a profit or it is going to be any forms of the ancestral blessing, it has to be equally shared among the members of the family. So what happens here is that every Hindu undivided family will get an equal share of the property and they will have equal rights on it. followed by any child taking birth in that family also becomes a member of the family. So after the grandfather, father, the son, and then when it keeps going like this, the child that is born in the family also becomes a member. So as the child grows up, he also becomes entitled to take a part of that particular business, followed by there's no requirement or an agreement to become a member because it's a family business. It is well within the four walls of the family. It is only a mutual understanding and you don't have to sign an agreement or a document, or there is no legal formalities that are involved in this business structure which will go forward and tell you that you have to become a member. So the entire concept of the Hindu undivided family is that to keep the business intact, to follow the rules and regulations that has been laid down by our ancestors, to carry forward the legacy of the business and not to diversify too much so that we don't lose focus on the business. Now, there are several types of companies in India which have been following the Hindu undivided family sector. Now, why this family and why this business opportunity is that this is because they feel that in the long run, the family can join hands together and develop the business. It is not needed that every time the family member has to go out search of a job and again create an employment cycle. This is like a gift already being given, and if it is properly utilized by the members of the family, automatically the business can be developed. Moving forward, we are now going to talk about the systems which are used in a joint Hindu family business. There are two types of system which I would like to talk about when it comes to the Hindu undivided family. The first one is called as the Daya Bhaga system. Now, what is this Daya Bhaga system is all about? It prevails in West Bengal and allows both male and the female members of the family to become the co-partners or the co-partners altogether. Now, in the state of West Bengal alone, we have always believed the importance that needs to be given to women, and it has now been practiced almost in every state as far as possible. But right from the origin, in the state of West Bengal, it is believed that both the male and the female members of the family will have equal rights over the particular organization or that particular business that the family has been running together. There's going to be no discrimination at all. Now, the son gets the right in ancestral property only after the death of his father, and that's the second important point here. Under the Daya Bhagya system, we say that only after the death of the father, the property shall be transferred to the son. So, which means to say that it is a step-by-step procedure. Only when the previous generation gets over, then only the present or the current generation will automatically become entitled or will become in the possession of the current business. The second system is called as the Mitakshara system. The Mitakshara system says that it prevails all over India except West Bengal. Now, what is there is that it allows only the male members to become the co-partners of the business. The Mitakshara system says that the male member of the family alone will be entitled for owning up the business as the upcoming partner, as the upcoming owner of the business. So, as the generations keep flowing down, it is only for the male member of the family to take over. So, suppose if there is a female member, then she is not entitled to become the partner or to head that particular business. Now, moving forward, we will talk about the next kind of business, the next form of business known as the trust or the trustees altogether. Now, the trust is a legal entity created by one party in which the second party has the right to hold the assets of the first party for the benefit of the third party. Now, what is this, sir? It looks a little bit confusing for us. The reality here is this: a trust is created by a first generation which will be held by the second generation, where all the second party will have the rights to own the assets of the first party and for the benefit of the third party, which means for the benefit of the upcoming generation. So now let's say that Infosys trustee. Or for example, I am going to create an ABC charity trust or some charity trust in the name of some company. Now what is going to happen? It is going to be created by one person, where that person will take charge of the entire assets of the first generation, so that in future the third party who is getting associated with that, they will also get a right over it. They will also have the benefits of holding that. Followed by the first party refers to the author, the trust or the truster. The second party is known as the trustee, who will take in charge of here, who accepts the proposal of the trust and maintains the property on behalf of the trustee, on behalf of the truster here, and the property of the truster on behalf of the beneficiary here. So now what is going to happen is that this person is now going to take care in terms of the trustee value altogether. So the trustee will in charge go forward, take the truster's property, all the assets into control for the benefit of the third party. So trust is going to be a little bit complex in terms of running the business, in terms of understanding the whole. What is very, very important here is that, as the word itself says, trust, that means to say that you need to have a faith, you need to have a confidence, you need to have all the good principles and ethics in place before we start this trust foundation and just start accumulating money out of it. Now, the subject matter of trust is known as trust property, and the document in which all the terms and conditions regarding the trust are known as the trust deed. So there would be a document under which all the property related documents, whatever the rules and regulations, the conditions, the factors will be written there, and that particular document is known as your trust deed. Now trust deed is a very, very important function. It's a very, very important factor. Why? Because based on that only you will be able to go forward and you will be able to take in charge of the entire setup or the entire factor altogether. So that is why we say that the trust deed is an important document that is going to look forward in terms of building up the business. And let's understand this: the trust deed will have all the necessary factors. So whoever is holding the trust deed, he takes the moral responsibility of handling all the assets, handling all the values that has been prescribed there, or else it becomes quite challenging for us to understand the property details. Followed by, the trust is governed by the Indian Trust Act of 1882. So it was formed in the year 1882, applies to all over the country except for Jammu and Kashmir. Again, Jammu and Kashmir, for obvious reasons, were not included in many of the laws. Of late, we are bringing in amendment to them. But then going back to the factor, the Trust Act was created in the year 1882, and this is applicable to all the states and union territory except for the state of Jammu and Kashmir. So trust is something where you will see that there are two persons who are majorly involved in that, a truster and a trustee. The trustee will take care of all the properties of the truster, and the document which contains the name, the details of the property, how it needs to be managed, what are the rules and regulations that are governing that particular document's name, will be known as the trust deed. Moving forward, we are going to talk about the society. Society is also another kind of form of business which is very, very prevalent and available in the Indian situation, the Indian business scenario. Now, before we start going in here, Maharashtra is one state which is known for lot and lot of societies. Even, if you start looking towards North India, Haryana, Punjab, and also these states have got lot and lot of forms of society which join hands together in order to do a particular kind of business. Now, we can also see in that context, Gujarat is also a state which has got a lot of societies. Now, going forward, the society is a group of persons who are associated for a common purpose. Now, that is a very, very important thing. They are associated for a common purpose. They are associated in terms that they have a common objective in nature, a common factor in nature. The purpose may be related in terms of promoting any literary, charitable and scientific work altogether. So if you look at a society, let me give you a very simple example. Education society. The common purpose of starting a society is that the society is focused in doing something beneficial for the common society, for the common people altogether. So let's say that we start a school, or we start a college, or we start an educational institution which tries and aims in terms of providing education to the needy people in the society. So our aim here is that we have something as a common factor. We want to promote it. We want to see that everybody is getting benefited out of it. So that's why this purpose is called as a common purpose altogether in terms of promoting the society. Followed by the incorporation of a society is very, very simple. Now, why it is very simple? Because it requires minimum 7 members who sign the memorandum of association and then file it with the registrar of companies. In the way society is legally formed under the Registration Act, Societies Registration Act of 1860. Now, if you look into the procedure of starting a society, it's very, very simple. It is not that complicated like that of a private or a public company. What we need to do here is that 7 members of the society, minimum 7 members of the society, have to join hands. They have to file a memorandum of association to the registrar of company. Once it is accepted and approved, every documents are in place, automatically it will be taken forward and registered under the Registered Societies Act of the 1860 altogether. So that's how you will be getting the Societies Registration Act, which is a very, very important form altogether. Now, if you look into the states of Gujarat and Maharashtra, as I was talking about of the example, there are many societies which are involved in terms of education, in terms of finance, self-help groups or small business entity, all these factors. Why? Because the concept of society is very, very interesting. They believe that by joining hands with people living in the same area and the same locality, or probably the nearby towns altogether, they will be able to promote the social development and responsibility altogether. Now, in society, of course, the nature of business might be small or it might not be that diversified, but definitely the business is able to provide employment to hundreds of people belonging to that local area. Secondly, in a society, the biggest advantage is that now all the members would come forward, cooperate and put the money inside for a common development purpose so that it is helpful for their own generation. So society becomes a very, very interesting format for each one of us to understand and take it forward. Now, the differences between a trust and a society, which is very, very important for us to know. Now, the first thing is that trust is an agreement between the party where one party holds the asset for the benefit of another party. So there is a beneficial holding that comes into picture. So in a trust, one person will hold the profits, hold the assets in the name of the other person. So that is a beneficial factor. Society is a collection of persons who come together initiating any literary, scientific or charitable purpose. Society does not work for profit. That means to say that society's ideology here is that let us come together as a team, work for the development of the society, work for the development of the country, of the region altogether. They are not interested in holding somebody's property or making some beneficial use here. The second thing is that trust is always registered under the Indian Trust Act 1882. Society comes under the Society Registration Act of the 1860 altogether. Next thing, there needs a minimum of 2 members in a trustee. For that of a society, they need a minimum of 7 members. Trust deed is the root document, which means to say that is the basic document that is mandatory, that is required for the formation of trust, which tells what kind of properties and assets are being allocated there. In the case of society, the details are provided by the memorandum of association, which has been filed with the registrar. Now, why this comes into picture here is that trust deed and memorandum of association are compared here. Trust deed is a root document, that's the main source of document. Here, memorandum of association becomes the main source of the document. Now, there is a single man control in trust, no doubt about it, definitely yes, because one person will be able to control the entire trust beneficiary factor, and whatever happens here in terms of this, there exists a democratic control in society, because in society it is not going to be a one-man show here, it is going to be multiple members who are going to elect you. So the society is much more democratic, much more open, and it gives a chance for everybody to become a leader altogether. Followed by the board of management of trustee contains all those factors, all the trustees here, and in case of society there is a governance, that is there a governance body which comprises of the committees, trustees, council members and the governors. So if you look here, the structure is slightly different and also the mode of operation is different, because society is more about a transparent ethical body that comes out in terms of helping people. It is more about a non-profit organization, which I would like to relate to. But then a trustee might be for an individual person, it's more enclosed, it is more governing with regards to the trust deed altogether. Now, moving forward, when we come to the conclusion, what I would like to say is that the purpose for which a trust is created is that the person will hold property of the another. Why I am reiterating this point is that holding of property in the name of other is what gets highlighted as a trust. That can never be forgotten, because I am trying to hold somebody's assets under my control for the benefit of the third person. So there is a beneficiary, there is something in return for which this trust is created, this entire ideology is created. Now in a trust, let's understand that though the trust might have got hundreds and crores of money located inside, the trust will have its own factors, the trust will have its own deeds, own matters altogether, which comes into picture. So the trust will not be able to give out things as and when it likes. It is taken into control by that one person and he will hold it for the beneficiary here. Followed by, in the case of a society here, that is there to promote any scientific or any good thing. It might be a literary, it might be a financial activity, it might be a business activity, a consulting activity. What we are trying to do here is that the purpose is more towards the society. The purpose is more towards building up a common cause in the society. So that is where I will always say that the concept of trust and society will definitely differ in the Indian business environment. With this, I come to the conclusion of this session. All the information provided in the session will be of a great resource and help to you. And I believe that in the next session, combining all these identities, we will go into the new kind of identities, that is about the different forms of the companies. And that would be much more interesting. Why? Because as the business environment is changing every day, it's becoming more and more dynamic. We will try to understand the forms and formats under which the entire global structure is working. Until then, stay tuned, stay blessed, and stay enlightened forever. Thank you once again for joining me on this wonderful session.